Welcome!
What's up, YouTube? It's your girlies, Fishman and Muscleman, coming at you live.
Yes.
Welcome back.
I know we missed you guys. Hopefully you missed us. One would hope. Last week we discussed how to factor polynomials.
Yep.
And today we're just taking that one step further by actually solving the polynomials.
Yep. And we're thinking about this like we moved last week from standard form x squared plus bx plus c into factored form, which was our parentheses x plus m, x plus p, which you see down there under step 2. Today we're going to be finding the x-intercepts by setting them equal to 0. Spoiler alert, and you're going to love it, and it's going to be fun.
Yes, and remember, whenever we find those x-intercepts from an equation, it's the same thing as where your x-intercepts would be on your graph. Mm-hmm. So it's where the graph is crossing the x-axis. X-intercepts are also called factors or solutions, different things like that. Okay? So let's go ahead and get started. So step number 1, it says to solve a polynomial, the first thing you're going to do is set the polynomial equation equal to 0. You guys know that, how to do that. You just put a little equal sign and a 0 to the side of the equation. Okay? Step number 2 is to factor the polynomial in the form of x plus m, x plus p. So if you guys remember, typically we start off with x squared plus bx plus c. And when we taught you how to factor, you're finding two numbers that do what, Robin?
You want to multiply to equal c.
Yeah, multiply to equal c, but
they're going to add to equal b.
We're going to add to equal
wow,
b too. I know.
So
Crazy
exciting stuff.
And you will get x plus m, x plus p, if you guys remember. Okay. Sometimes I wrote this little note right here. It might already be in factored form, so you don't have to factor it. It just depends. You guys are smart enough to see, well, are there one set of parentheses, two sets, or none? So just have to look. Step number 3 says to set each factor equal to 0. So that whole x plus m, we set it equal to 0. X plus p, we set it equal to 0 as well. And then last but not least, solve for x. Okay, I know that's a lot of steps. We're going to go ahead and go through it together. So let's go ahead and get started. Step number 1 on our first one. What is our step number 1?
We want to make sure we're setting that equation equal to 0.
Yes.
So it'll read x squared plus 9x plus 14 equals 0.
Perfect. And is this already in factored form?
No.
No, I don't see two sets of parentheses. So what's the first thing that I need to do?
We need to see what multiplies to make 14, which is our c.
Yep. So let's go ahead and list out our factors of 14. Okay, what multiplies to give us 14?
We have 14 and 1.
14 and 1.
We have 7 and 2.
And 7 and 2. And I think that's it. Correct?
Yep.
Correct.
Perfect.
And then we want to find which two of those pairs add to give us 9.
Right.
Okay, so if I add 14 and 1.
You're going to get 15, girly.
Yeah, so
that's not right.
If I add 7 and 2.
You're going to get positive 9.
Positive 9, so these got to be our factors. So let's go ahead and write them. So we got x plus 7, x plus 2.
Right.
And remember, we have equals 0. Okay, so what does the next step tell us to do?
We're going to set each factor equal to 0.
Correct. So this first one right here, x plus 7, I'm going to go ahead and set that equal to 0. And I'm going to do that with my x plus 2 as well. Now, if you guys remember, this should look familiar. It's just a one-step equation because we're solving for x. So we're just trying to get x by itself. And if you guys remember, you just kind of use your inverse operations that we learned at the very beginning of the school year. You also learned it in elementary school and middle school as well. So if I want to get a positive 7 to the other side, what is the opposite of addition?
Subtraction.
You're so smart. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 7, subtract 7.
That's what you do to one side of the parentheses, you do to the other side.
Perfect. So now I'm just left with x, bring down my equal sign, 0 minus 7.
It's a negative 7.
Negative 7. So
Great.
there's one of them. Let's do our other one. In order to move a positive 2 to the other side, what do I need to do?
You got to subtract 2.
Yeah. Subtract 2 from both sides of the equal sign. So that gives me a positive x equals 0 minus 2 will give me
Negative 2.
negative 2.
Amazing. Miss Musselman, are there any ways to check our work? Because I want to make sure we got this correct.
Yeah, there are. So what we guys first of all, before we show you,
yeah.
if you look at these two numbers right here, we have a -7 and we have a -2. But up in our factor form up here, we have a +7 and a +2. So a lot of you guys are like, Ms. Russell, you taught me when I'm putting it in parentheses, I do the opposite. You're correct. So that's kind of where that comes into play here. Okay, if you looked on a graph, which luckily me and Ms. Fishman already kind of did for you, you'll notice right here, we have our two x-intercepts. We have a -7 and we have a -2. And then I always taught you guys when we put that into an equation, we do the opposite. So I'm going to write a +7 and a +2, which we did right here. And that's where that whole opposite thing comes into. So when you solve it, basically what's going to happen is it's just going to flip it.
Yeah.
Good with that?
Amazing.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to do our next one. Oh, sorry, guys. Also, this would be our answer right here, just the whole x equals -7 and x equals -2. That's your answer. Okay? So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So this one doesn't look like the first one. What form is this one in?
Looks like it's already actually in factored form, Miss Musselman.
I think so too. It was already factored. They did the hard work for us. So it's the first thing we still need to do though.
We gotta set it equal to 0.
Yep. Gotta set it equal to 0. Now since the equation is already factored, I can go ahead and move on to step number 3. Step number 3 tells me to do what?
To set each factor equal to 0.
So we're gonna do that. So we're going to take x minus 3, set it equal to 0, and x plus 5, set it equal to 0. Now, with this one, I have a -3. How do I move a -3 to the other side?
You want to add it.
Yeah, you are. You're going to add 3 to both sides.
Perfect.
That's an add sign, by the way.
A beautiful add sign.
Thank you. And when you do that, you get x equals 0 plus 3 is?
3.
Beautiful. And then on the other side over here, in order to move a plus 5 to the other side,
we're going to subtract 5. Amazing, Miss Musselman.
Thank you. And then obviously, once again, we get x is equal to 0 minus 5.
Minus 5. I almost said positive 5.
Negative 5. You got it.
That's why you should always double check your work.
And stuff. Correct. Those are our two answers.
Right.
-3, -5.
So on a test, we would put both. We wouldn't be like, what's the one solution? Because you have two parentheses, there are two different solutions.
Correct. And then if you look down here, so our solutions are 3 and -5. In this graph, you see your solution as a -3 and a +5. Because remember, they flip once you put them back into the equation. So that's why up here you have a -3 and a +5. And if you look in your equation, you have a -3 and a +5. Okay?
Awesome.
Awesome. I think we are done.
Yeah, great work. We'll see you guys in the examples section of our video.
Yes.
Or not,